Hello, my friends, and now we're going to jump right into the one-line zinger or the one-line zinger banner concept. Keeping in mind that your long-term goal through the succession of Tech Foundation training courses is to move all the way to the outer ring of your socially activated one web ring perpetual downstream traffic system. The one thing that is in common, regardless of how many Tech Foundation courses you take, or even if you attend our live certification event, is out here on these other layers, you're going to be able to put your banners in your golden frames. Golden frame is any platform that you own that you can put a banner on the side. I'm going to go ahead and give you the link to the definition on our wiki of the golden frame. And banners become important in golden frames, especially high converting banners. And if you know what the one-line zinger is through the entire market or industry that you're speaking to, you know their pain behind the pain, the question behind the question, by going through the processes that we've discussed in earlier modules here on week 2, you're already well on your way to doing something that most people don't even do, which is finding out how to create banners and creatives, because you've already understood the core concerns, fears, pains, and problems in a market. Okay, so I want to give you a caution here. I'm going to be giving you actual live demos of banners, and they are of an adult nature by virtue of the fact that they're the male enhancement industry, dealing with erection problems, Viagra, herbal Viagra, and so on and so forth. So if these types of topics make you squeamish, you might want to stop now. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and start getting into that conversation with you. So I have left much of the client's information out. I haven't filled out the hand extracted keywords because that would just take away from the point that I'm trying to make here, is that the frequently asked question is, how can I still please my partner when I have problems getting an erection as I age? Okay, keep in mind that the client product is a product called Viconin. It's a herbal Viagra, an herbal male enhancement. Okay, so how can I still please my partner when I have problems getting an erection as I age? This is one variation of many, many questions that I could find when we did our research. And this particular one I did not research only on PainFinder. I used many other sources as discussed in the PowerPoint. And of course you can see problems getting an erection. Obviously there's many other hand extractions you can pull from this. The summary of the pains and the confusions, the problems, real pains and problems about aging. Okay, wants to still have sex. Aging is the big issue. Okay, so that's why I highlighted that. Can I still get an erection as I age? That's the question behind the question. And there's other questions behind the question, but I'm keeping this really simple. For example, is there a way that I can still please my partner? It might bypass the erection issue. And of course, you can follow all kinds of other questions behind the questions, go all the way down the rabbit hole, and get very indirect with this topic, but we keep it related to the core product. Then, of course, I'm skipping the should ask questions for the purposes of this module, because the should ask questions are related to the Viconin product, but I'm not focusing on that. You already know how to do that, and this product is already well positioned. I want to stay focused really quickly on getting you to the creatives and what this might look like. The pain behind the question is very important for the creation of your one-line zinger and your one-line zinger banners. I'm afraid that I will not be able to please my partner because I'm getting too old. I'm afraid of aging and the limitations it brings. I don't feel sex anymore. These could go on and on and on. When you get right here, these are the banners that you're going to want to create. Okay, so for the first one, we created some banners. These are not the final banners that will go to a professional creative department, but what happens after this phase is that a general banner is created. And when we know that the fear and the pain is about aging, okay, that's it. And if enough people come back with that about the fear of aging in general, which I think is a baby boomer concern, no question, then we can go ahead and jump into that as a topic. Now I'm giving you access to these creatives, even though these are just the preliminaries. Okay, these were not all that we had. Here's the fear of aging. Let's go ahead and open up this document. And this is not an advanced banner creation course, but we did both negative and positive proofs of concept, meaning playing towards what they can get and playing towards the fear of what they'll no longer get. Okay, this is Neuromarketing 101. So this is the fear of aging exploit. I know it sounds not very nice, but this is how marketers work in terms of you can take a position in a marketplace as an exploit on someone's fears, pains, and offer them solution. That's how you get the click. That's how the reticular activator works. And we've done huge numbers of tests. More positive banners work in more liberal media, social media, and the rest, but not so much in banner networks. So it really depends on where you are. So here's one creative we did, which is get harder with age. This is the one that I believe ended up getting selected. Okay, now remember, this is just a creative, so these images I could not use. This gentleman's, he's a very well-known, this guy's 75 years old. He actually does look like that. It is not photoshopped. It's a very rare circumstance. So we borrowed him because I wanted to, for the creative department, I wanted them to just look at the concept. More than just sex enhancement, get harder with age. This is the main concept. The click banner could be anything. Okay, and generally speaking, if one gets chosen, the real artists will create the banner, and the marketing department will pass on the banner. So getting harder with age. Hopefully, you see how contrarian that is, because we're already aware that one of the major frequently asked questions is, how can I mean, that's a huge claim, being able to get harder with age, but I'm afraid I will not be able to please my partner because I'm getting too old. It uses the aging exploit and provides hope. Okay? So that's really what it's about, is getting harder with age. It's very intriguing because the idea that you might get harder as you get older, you might be more sexually active as you get older. Okay, then there's the get harder the older you get. This is an extreme form. This is actually the one that got used, and we're still looking on the click-through on that. Of course, we changed the we can't use these graphics. Again, these graphics are placeholders. I want everybody watching this to know that we don't use banner. This is from Mad Men. You can't use a graphic like that for the most part. I don't recommend. I recommend you buy your images, but that gives the creative department the kind of graphics they need to go and find. Although I've had very little problems with an occasional ghetto networks using things like that. You almost never get in trouble for it, but you want to go ahead and use your own graphics. Here's another one, better sex the more you age, in a simple PEL. Okay, so notice how each one of these banners has a button. Always put a button in something clickable, because the dopamine centers in the brain are attracted to something that it wants to click. Even when we see a button, this is the research done by Dr. Gregory Burns and Dan Arley, you can even look at a button and your thumbs will start to twitch. That also means the part of your brain that actually clicks something starts to get activated. So why not toss those up in front of people on the banner networks in the golden frame? Okay. So let's go ahead and look at one more in this kind of exploit. Bigger and harder erections with age. Okay, that's speaking directly to the fear. Let's go back to the aging fear again. Just make sure that you know that the FAQ to SAQ. Because ultimately, what I wanted to point out why I left the SAQs open is you could literally take these banners that I have and they could be the SAQ. The question you should be asking is, can you get more erections as you age, or can you get harder as you age? I mean, that sounds outlandish and this and that, but if that claim is going to be made, you have to be able to prove it. Okay, so just make sure that your product works really, really well. Viagra, when it came out, it was working 98.999% of the time. Okay, and still does. So that's why it got so much notoriety. So the question that Viagra could put here is, how can you get major erections even past the age of 65? So that would be a should-ask question, because they could actually prove that. Okay, so that's herbal enhancement. Okay, this is not something that the client ended up using. The more you age, the better your erections. That's an extreme form. The claim might be too much, but they got the idea of where I wanted to go. And of course, the lifestyle shot here is of an older guy getting some attention from younger women. So the main thing that was selected was this one. Get harder the older that you get. Find out how they do it without Viagra. That was the one that was chosen. Okay, because the product is placed against Viagra, and the exploit that it's using, again, of the three major categories of fears and problems and pain behind the questions, was the aging. Okay, that's the really important one, is this aging function. Okay, so you could literally just know you're targeting Viconin, And then you can put a link to your banner right here. I'll go ahead and put a sample. Actually, I'm going to be giving you guys the entire file, so you'll be able to see the file name. Okay. All right, so let's move on to another one. The next one is, can I get the effects? Here's the frequently asked question. Can I get the effects of Viagra without taking a pharmaceutical grade drug? One of the big concerns seem to be Viagra numbness, side effects of long-term Viagra usage. Viagra doesn't work anymore. Maybe they overused it. So the question behind the question became, is there an alternative to toxic pharmaceutical, let's say specifically here, sexual enhancement, okay? And then you got the keyword right there. You could even create your own should ask question, which I'm not going to go over in this. And here's the pain behind the question that we noticed. I'm afraid of getting sick from harsh pharmaceuticals. I'm afraid I may be pushing my body too hard without giving anything health to it back. I feel like I may be pushing body too hard. And I'm going to go ahead and do parentheses here. Sexually. Without giving anything back. I'm afraid that my younger partner or wife will leave me because I'm no longer able to. Actually, this is the one below it. Let's just keep these, okay? So this is the second question. How may I, whoops. This is the second question. Can I get the effects of Viagra without taking a pharmaceutical grade drug? So once you know the pain behind the question, which is I'm afraid of getting sick from harsh pharmaceuticals. Another one we notice is people getting this Viagra numbness. I'm afraid I may be pushing my body too hard. They start to get really worried about toxifying their body. And that's a pretty common concern for the baby boomer generation to be in that place. So we created for you another document for the client, and I'm only showing you some of the test samples. The fear of toxic drugs is another creative exploit. So we create another document for that. And you're going to see that this one is going to, I use the same images before these go to the professional creative department. Fear of toxic drug exploit, rough drafts, proof of concepts. Okay. Research suggests too much Viagra use will fail over time. Give her a love that will last. Okay. You know, you can do your own hot or not on these. Some of these are bad. Some of these are, you know, so these are just ideas. These are concepts that you toss in front of the client. Longer lasting all natural elections. Okay. Elections. Can you believe I said that? Erections. Erections. It's 3 in the morning here, just so you know. Okay, let's try this again. How does this one apply to research suggests? What's going on here? Okay, the big one here is Viagra will fail over time. So keep in mind that even though these banners are ugly and they're what you do, you sit down, you go over the FAQs to SAQs with the client, you show them this creative, and all of a sudden the juices get flowing, and you're really excited because you find ways to reposition that product. Give her a love that will last. Try long-term herbal program and sex pill that women are talking about. This is a little bit long. Okay, I would probably remove this one upon looking at it. Okay. We'll talk about just too much Viagra use fail over time. This addresses the pharmaceutical, the fear of toxic chemicals, which we're trying to exploit. This creative, longer lasting, all natural. In this one, we just came right out and said all natural. Erections. The erection would probably be in red once it went to the creative department. Longer lasting natural erections. Okay, you got the little grass thing and this and that. Here's another concept I came up with. Does Viagra kill your erection over time? And I got a book here called The Viagra Alternative, this and that. It was like proof of concept I wanted them to consider. Like Viagra, minus the possible long-term side effects. Okay. The other question is, can you use Viagra on a banner? Yes, you can. Viagra, I believe, and I haven't confirmed this with an attorney, but we were doing some research, is a fair use. It's now become a household name, therefore it's now fair use. So I haven't confirmed that, so be careful with that stuff. Like Viagra, minus the possible long-term side effects. You got this guy covering his willy with a skeleton, and I wanted to come up with a concept like that. I think this is incredibly strong, and probably is the one that we'll go with in terms of the fear of toxic chemicals exploit. Do non-herbal sexual enhancers have long-term side effects? I like this one as well. I think it'll do really well on holistic networks. Okay, so what did we just do here? Again, we're going through this rather quickly, but I wanted you to get the idea of how the frequently asked questions to should ask questions can lead to a banner. Proof of concept. Okay, so that was everything there. Can I get the effect of Viagra without taking pharmaceutical grade drug? And we speak to their, I'm afraid of getting sick. I'm afraid I may be pushing my body too hard. Okay, and so you can take a look at those creatives and hopefully you know how that works now. Okay, you should be able to pull awesome creatives and banners from your FAQ to SAQ process. Here's another question that came up. How can I make my young wife happy when I seem to be losing my libido? What can I do about my lost libido? You can break these questions down into a bunch of generalities and specifics, specifics. People will, on Quora, for example, leave very, very general questions, as we saw in previous videos. What's the best keyword research tool? Well, yeah. Okay. What do you mean for what? But that's good because you can break it down. So what can I do about my lost libido? Can be with any age group, any type of person, but this one, when you combine it, is really about older or even middle of the road men. Doesn't have to be super old, and so it targets a couple different demographics, and every man has problems with enhancement at some point or another, I imagine. And so there is that. So can't keep up with a spouse or girlfriend in bed. This is the main pain. We keep coming back again and again. This is a real ego blow to men. Okay, for women and men watching this, probably you're aware of that men in general hold a lot of esteem and importance to their sexual prowess. It's just part of being male. So this is something that's exploited in this one. It's very, very difficult. The question behind the question is, how can I last longer in bed? How can I keep up with and please a younger or homosexual woman in bed? How can I keep my wife happy as I age? These are all major concerns about pleasing the other. Now, what's interesting about this is, as we went deeper into this, the pain behind the question is, I'm afraid that my younger partner or wife will leave me because I'm no longer able to please her in bed. These are some hidden fears that came up in some psychological books and works that are on this topic, also in discussions in some forums. Okay, and this one is, I'm afraid. Let me spell afraid right here. Didn't do really good for you guys there. I'm afraid that my younger partner or wife will stop loving me. This is actually a radical jump to the deep psychology. We don't actually, if you were selling a self-help book or a therapist or a book on Tantra or something, this might be really good thing to keep in mind. But for the purposes of Viconin, okay, which is the bullseye product or service, we know that Viconin is the thing we're focusing on here. That's the client's product. Let's go ahead and put that here. It's herbal Viagra. These are things that you're going to target. I'm afraid that my younger partner or wife will stop loving me. Actually, love itself becomes a problem. Okay, so if you had a course on, intimacy, an intimacy course could go here. But it's also useful for Viconin. I'm afraid that my wife will become unhappy and need to find another man. Sounds terrible, I know. This is a real concern that men have. They feel that their sexuality and their love life is mutually exclusive, and one has to have the other, or they're actually going to lose the love of their mate. Okay, so this gets into all kinds of messy topics, but it's good to know. Now you're armed with the pain behind the pain, and you can go ahead and look at exploit banner zinger number 3. Fear she won't love me. Inadequacy is a very common sexual, emotional, psychological issue for men and women when it comes to sexual enhancements. Okay, for some reason, especially in the adult industry, men never, there's a whole group of, compensation. Men are trying to compensate. I was actually blown away when I saw the numbers of people. Even in the adult industry, the entire adult industry right now has taken on the whole herbal Viagra thing as well. So it's pretty amazing to see how much has gone down with that. But in order to exploit that, you can do it gently by providing positive. There's white hat and black hat methods of banner creation. There's the black hat, which plays on people's fears, and then there's the white hat, which is supportive and gives them solutions right out of the gate. Sadly, I'm going to tell you that exploiting a person's fears or creating an interesting but incomplete side effect works every time. Okay? What will she do when the Viagra stops working? This is a very cruel exploit. Okay? But it works. Does she really still love you even when you can't get it up? Okay, terrible. I know, but this could lead to an article talking about relationships. Listening to me try to justify just a a horribly manipulative banner. This works like nobody's business, and I'm just telling you it's cruel and unusual, but it does work. Watch the disappointment vanish from her face. This is my favorite one because at least you're having fun and making light, and you're not exploiting somebody's already deep set insecurity about their sexuality. Okay. Watch your disappointment turn to amazement. Again, these are all proofs of concept. Okay, you would be limited to what you could do with this one. It's slightly adult, and again, I'm sorry, I did warn you there would be some pseudo or lukewarm adult content here. Watch your disappointment turn into amazement. I like that one. I like giving people encouragement that you have a solution. Be careful or your wife will not be enough. Okay, this would not fly on some conservative networks, but this is why these are only creatives. Research suggests too much Viagra use will fail over time. Give her a love that will last. Notice this was also used on the fear of aging exploit. Okay, so I'll go ahead and leave these with you, and hopefully this gives you a very strong idea about what the yet another way that the FAQ to SAQ once again is going to help you. In fact, this whole FAQ to SAQ model was designed ultimately to help me create banners and keywords on those banners. Okay? You don't always have to have the keyword that you're targeting on your banner, okay? As long as the keyword response rate is in banner networks and or on your own website network, that is the U everywhere. Okay, location, that is your own empire. Okay, remember that your banner network is going to, on your own W3 site, it's going to stretch far and wide, right? Golden monetization frame. All right, so these are all, this is a golden frame. See that ugly and not very attractive banner? It still gets clicks, but you could do way better on that. But that's a golden frame. Anything on a site that you own, like right here in the wiki, this is the golden frame. This is an actual clickable banner right here. It's got the button right on there. Clicks through to the site. Okay. It's going to have a UTM code up here, which is loading rather slowly because Network Empire is loading a bit slowly these days. We're working on that because it's a huge site. But that's the golden monetization frame. And he who has the golden frame can control the banner. And he who has the better banner is going to get the click-through, so you can actually promote your own products in the side banner, no matter how many websites you have. If you have 1,000 websites. Okay? So that's really what this is for. This is the movement from FAQs to SAQs. And by the time you go through this process, you should be able to have a few categories of exploits that are speaking to the pain behind the question. Just so you know, it's the pain behind the question that is the most important aspect when it comes to creating banners. I'm afraid that my wife will become unhappy and need to find another man. The list goes on. Human fears and pains almost always reduce to one certain thing, and these are uncertainty. Okay, uncertainty is the big aspect, and we're going to talk at the live certification event about the 9 and 10 macro trends and how the core of all human suffering is uncertainty. And your job when you're positioning your client's product is to help them increase that uncertainty for a moment and then drive them to a certain solution and then create a conversion. Quickly, before we close this last video in week 2, I'm going to show you some really horrible ghetto banners on some WR2 pinvid sites that have converted very well, and they're very ghetto. This lady recovered from chronic Lyme disease even back when they said it didn't exist. This was an incredibly unexpected high click-through banner, and it came partially from an FAQ to SAQ. One of the frequently asked questions was, is Lyme disease even a real disease? Okay, so that was the real question. So what I did is in the second half, I actually turned it to the FAQ, but then I turned it into a story. What you should be asking is, who has recovered from Lyme disease-like symptoms? So I created a banner out of that, and it did really, really well. It still continues to do well. And in the PidVid course, Tech Foundation number 1, which is an entirely different week, it's Foundation course part 3. We actually teach you how to make your PinVid sites and put these on every page of the site. Here's another banner that did incredibly well. And plug-in banners always do really, really well as long as you're on markets or sites that have banners. See this ugly, horrible thing at the top? It actually does get clicks, but what gets clicked the most, and you'll learn this again, in the pin vid is the banner right here. And this is the highest converting banner I've ever had. Sometimes you can just go ahead and tell them to download something for free. In this case, the Perpetual Business Machine, download the Ultimate Online Market Process Map. This word perpetual always works. I'm going to give you guys who are in the tech field a little insight. I don't know why it does, but it works. I've had click-throughs upwards of 40 and 50% whenever I use the perpetual this. And when you give them a free download, they're always going to hit your site. Okay? Our click-through goes through the roof when we offer something for free. So just want to let you know that the banner underneath the videos have very high conversion and does very well. Here's another unexpected banner. This banner of this cat did incredibly well. I think because people care about animals, and most of those people on the site are women. Now this one is, this therapy may be a powerful tool, cancer prevention tool, ... Find out what it is. See how that's interesting but incomplete? You can visit interestingbutincomplete.com. We talked about that in the other video. Make sure your banners don't tell people really what it is. They can give a hint. I mean, this happens to be for a far infrared pad that this cat is on. But don't tell them what it is right in the banner. You wouldn't believe how many people just tell people, give away the ghost right on the banner. Don't do that. I've been doing banners for a long time, and anytime you tell them what it is, your click-through rate goes down. Okay? I'll show you an example of telling them what it is, just so you know what it looks like. Here's a site that sold a lot of this essential oil on it, and it was at a certain specific time. But see how we have a picture right on here of what it is we're going to show them? That's actually going to lower the click-through rate. That headline did pretty well for the survivalist market. Military level toxicologist recommends only one detox addition to your bug out bag. Okay, and the bug out bag is a survivalist keyword. This did okay. There was a period of a month that was doing really, really well. But if you can help it, don't give your product away on most WR2s unless you're really, really, really on a very important location and it's going to make sense. And you like trying to give a solution. An example of that would be if you're in alternative health and wellness. Health Ranger is a real example of that. On his website, he's got every type of product under the sun. It's actually gotten ridiculous. But in locations like that are malls of banners where your banner is going to be mixed up with like 10 or 20 or 30 other products, it's okay to put that. But if you're on something that's just indirectly guiding people to an issue, go ahead and leave it interesting but incomplete, and don't even necessarily show a picture of the product, especially now because they know it's a potion. You've given it away, you might not draw the click. Okay, so that's an example of really what not to do. And this has performed poorly, this banner. Okay, here's a banner that was unexpected. This is what I call the expert banner. Feel free to use this concept as well. You name an expert and why they became an expert on far infrared sauna. And the reason this works so well is because this entire website is about 15 or 16 different brands of saunas, and all of their videos are being automatically uploaded to this site. So what you're doing is you're saying, hey, yeah, we cover all the other videos about all the other saunas out there, but we only recommend one. This worked remarkably well. Okay, for an automatic traffic site, this has worked incredibly well. So this is why you got to get your banners down, and we're going to be providing you with the one-line zingers. One of my many creatives. I'm going to give you all three of these. I'm going to give you these three specific exploits of the 5 or 6 exploits I did for this particular client, just so that you have some kind of idea of what's going on, and hopefully that makes sense. Okay, you guys are well on your way to understanding how to go from the FAQ, from the pain finder. Remember the whole process. The process is the $4 million market research questions. Find out if you even have a viable market. Find out if you're positioned as a pain or a vitamin. Once you're doing that, go ahead and do some basic research, and then do a couple of frequently asked questions to should ask questions. Follow the whole process from the question behind the question to the pain behind the question. And then you're going to start thinking about your product in terms of frequently asked questions. And then you're going to try creating a couple of banner creatives, knowing that your banners are going to go everywhere in the one-line zinger. And the one-line zinger is always going to be based on the deepest fears and pain behind the pain. And there might be more than one pain behind the pain, as there was in the male enhancement industry, which was, of course, as you know, afraid of not being able to please their partner, afraid that they're aging, and afraid of not being loved. Okay? You're going to create a couple of banner creatives on that. And ultimately, what you're going to find through testing, the next step is to put those on the banners. I'm not going to show you how to do that, but you're going to be testing them in locations like PinVid sites. Okay? You can do banner rotators. I might split test these. And what's going to happen is the most powerful exploit is going to come back with the highest click-through, or you might use multiple click-through exploits or banner concepts or one-line zingers in different areas that have different demographics. For example, the fear of not being loved might do really, really well on a tantra network. The desire to be larger might do really, really well on an adult network. The fear of not being able to please a younger woman or the fear of toxic chemicals might do really, really well on a nutrition network. And so the one-line zinger might be a misnomer, but you get the general idea. You're going to have a couple of one-line zingers, and you're going to know which one to pull out of your arsenal depending upon which promotional location on your network or what the topic or theme of the site on your network is really about. So now you're well on your way. You know more on week 2, having gone through this week 2 module, about online marketing and the whole process from A to Z of getting from pain to keyword to FAQ to SAQ to banner than probably 99.99% of the people that you're meet, including Fortune 100 CEOs and marketing departments who charge millions of dollars a year to clients. How cool is that? Russell Wright from Network Empire. Go ahead and move on to your next week.